Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. My name is David Vance and welcome to this video. I'm going to explain what hyperacusis is and compare it to other major chronic illnesses as well as pain hyperacusis and tinnitus. First off, the definition of hyperacusis is an increased sensitivity to sound and low tolerance for environmental noise. So what the normal person could think is normal for their hearing is not normal for myself and other people who have hyperacusis. 1 in 50,000 people have this condition. For me personally, I have had this condition for 4 years. In 2017, late 2017, I developed lymphoma cancer and I did chemotherapy and radiation. Following my radiation treatment, about 2 weeks after, I started to notice that I had ringing in my ears. Now, I had ringing in my ears before when I was on stage in the clubs performing what I did best over drum and bass. Coming out of the club, 3 in the morning, my ears are ringing from the loudspeakers. And I would go to bed and wake up and it would be gone. But this time it was not going away. I couldn't explain it. I don't believe it was a coincidence that I just had these treatments and now I have this ringing in my ears. My oncologist told me I would experience side effects during the treatment, after the treatment, and even years down the road. I would experience different side effects possibly. Everybody's body chemistry and pathology is different. So that was a hard thing to deal with. I saw my family doctor. We Googled and hyperacusis came up. He had no idea what it was. I did my own research, found Facebook groups and forums to chat with other people who had the condition. I went back to work 3 months after lymphoma treatments. The sensitivity to sound started getting worse. To be honest, I thought it was just ear infections coming and going, but I would keep getting checked by my family doctor and ears, nose, and throat specialist, and there was nothing there. Nobody could explain what was going on. Only Google could, and other people who were going through this hyperacusis. And so it was a hard thing to take in. 6 months after my treatments, I visited a walk-in doctor. And this doctor assessed me very thoroughly. And he looked at my jaw. And before my treatments for lymphoma, I had to remove a couple of teeth on my left side and the back. And so he said that my jaw could be misaligned and the infrastructure and the whole area can get messed up and lead into the inner ear and cause hearing problems. So he suggested that I go see a jaw doctor for temporomandibular joint disorder. I found a doctor. I went and saw him. It took 2 months. Finally got in. I told him my story about the stresses through lymphoma, my music days, working in restaurants, you name it. I told him everything. And he put me on a medication, and this medication wiped out everything. For 2 weeks, I was able to go out to social events, no problems, and I was feeling a lot better. But after 2 weeks, the symptoms started getting worse. Now, with this condition, it is very hard. To be honest, I would rather lose my arms. I would rather lose my legs. Because if I lose my legs, I can wheelchair down the street and not have to worry about the dog barking, the baby crying, the jackhammer, the chainsaw, any type of construction noise, or the revved up car engine beaming down the street that's gonna cause pain to my ears. I would rather lose my teeth because with dentures, I can walk around with new teeth. Now, in detailed form, what it feels like for me personally is I get hot knives stabbing into both of my ears and hot lava, it feels like, coming out of them, following. So you could only imagine what I am going through, and others who have this condition are also going through. I'm on a benzodiazepine right now, which calms the nerves. A doctor in Belgium put me on it, and it did help for a while. And then the symptoms started getting worse. I am coming off of the medication now, and it tweaks with the central nervous system, and all kinds of different side effects can happen. And sensitivity to noise gets worse, tinnitus gets worse, the pain hyperacusis gets worse, the hot lava feeling gets worse. So it's hard. I have tried antidepressants. My body cannot tolerate them. I cannot get through the side effects, the initial side effects, before the medication takes place. So my doctors are throwing their hands in the air. Psychiatrists, neuro-otologists, ears, nose, and throat specialists, and my family doctor. They don't know what to do anymore, especially doctors across the world in Belgium. They don't know because everybody's chemistry and everybody's pathology is different. So I'm left here clueless and I don't know what to do anymore. I feel like I'm a burden on my family. I have two amazing nieces and a wonderful nephew and sister who I love dearly. I talk to them on FaceTime a lot, and I need to have that social connection. Another piece that I would like to touch on is meeting other people while having hyperacusis. It's easy for people who have normal hearing to go out and socialize and to meet other folks. But with people who have hyperacusis, in my opinion, the ideal situation would be to live with somebody or have friends that have the condition because we understand each other. Now, the problem with that is the condition is so rare that we are all spread all across the globe. And the people that actually do live kind of close together, their hyperacusis is severe and they can't move from one place to another because it's so painful. People have been telling me to go out and socialize, saying, David, this hyperacusis is in your head. They believe it's a physical condition, but the mind is able to teach the body and the soul different things. And this is for the normal person or somebody who has a different chronic illness other than hyperacusis, perhaps. I've tried this tact. I have tried to tell myself over and over. I repeat the mantra in my head, David, you don't have hyperacusis. David, you don't have hyperacusis. And I try to go out into the real world and meet other people. It just doesn't work. It's a physical condition, and I've tried everything to the best of my abilities to socialize with other people. Now, meeting normal people with normal hearing while having hyperacusis, it's hard to find people to accept the condition in terms of friendship, in terms of a companion. And while the person is sick with hyperacusis, their energy is solely focused on healing. And it's hard to even build up the right energy to be able to make such a thing happen. From this condition, I am a recluse. I sit in my apartment, I live by myself, an hour away from my family and from my friends, because I could not bear to live in Toronto, Canada, which is the loudest city in Canada other than Vancouver. So I moved an hour away, and to not be around my family, to not be around my friends is very difficult to deal with. I don't have things in common with the people who I used to hang around with anymore because we don't do the same things. We don't go to social gatherings, we don't go to clubs, we don't go to restaurants together. I get invited to these things, but unfortunately, with my hearing and sensitivity to sound, when I go out to these places, even with earplugs on, with headphones on, it's still bothersome. And over the years, it's only escalated. And it's starting to take a massive toll on me. I feel like I need assisted help now because my dishes have been sitting for 3 weeks. I'm not gonna lie, half of them. I'll wash one dish a day, two dishes a day maybe, just to feel like a normal person again. So I feel like the modality that somebody needs for this condition when it gets severe, like mine is to have some assisted help around from either family or friends, government assisted help, personal care workers, anybody to help around to do these everyday essential things such as cooking and cleaning, because I cook and when I'm stirring my pot, it bothers my ears. Washing the dishes does. The sizzle from the frying pan, it bothers my ears. Turning pages, even the sound of my pen touching the paper hurts my ears. Cleaning, mopping, sweeping, everyday essential things that would not bother the regular, normal hearing person bothers me exceedingly. And it's hard to go into. People have taken their lives from this disease. The suicide risk is up there, and we need to take action now. And it can go from mild to severe to very severe. I know people who can't not even talk because they can't bear the sound of their own voice, and it causes so much pain to their ears. They have to wear earplugs 24/7. I do. I wear earplugs 24/7 because any noise that comes in, it hurts. Like I had explained before, the symptoms that happen to me when sound enters through my head and my ears. So you can only imagine what it does to people who have it very severe and they need this assisted help, loving compassion. These are all the things needed in order to survive hyperacusis. When it gets to that level, we need help and we need the word to get out there. And that is one of the reasons why we are making this video, because people need to know. If you have this condition, you are not alone. I promise you. We talk online. We try to find different treatment modalities. We help each other. We lift each other up. Find us online through Facebook groups. Just Google in hyperacusis. And there's lots of people who have this condition. Not a whole ton of people because it's so rare. And we help each other to stay alive. We live one day at a time, sometimes 1 second at a time. It's hard to deal with. Like I explained before, lymphoma was a hard battle. I was able to go to social gatherings though. I was able to go out with friends, hang out with family, go to family functions. But with hyperacusis, I cannot do these things. I just had my father pass away 4 months ago. And to get through the preparation and the funeral service was very hard to deal with. I had to high dose on my benzodiazepine to prepare with my sister to do this and to get through the service, to prepare my speech, to do everything, to get through all the festivities through the day, the after party at the restaurant and everything. The pain that I was experiencing that day was like lightning and thunder going through me. But I put a smile on my face and I did it. But now I feel like it's hard to even go to the corner store. It's hard to go and pick up my earplugs. I went and did that today. And the amount of pain from the cars, from the construction along the way, it hurt me so much. I cannot even explain to you how much it hurts. I'm getting really emotional now, don't mind me. But this condition is very severe. Lymphoma was very hard to deal with, but cancer is a big thing. Hyperacusis affects you on the daily. I am a recluse, and it is very hard to get through. Each day, I do my best. I pray, I meditate, I believe that a higher being is watching over me. And these little reminders that I get every single day are what helps me to get through this disease. I wish there was a cure. There are regenerative medicines that are coming out in the next couple of years, hopefully, to help the cochlea and the inner ear and the inner and outer hair cells to regenerate. And this is some of the hope that we have, but I can't put my full expectations on those treatments. I need to focus on my diet. I need to focus on staying in quiet. I need to get assisted help and love and compassion around me, other people who understand. I need to do so many things on a daily basis just to survive. I'm living to survive right now. Before lymphoma, my goal was to find a companion, to find the love of my life, to have children. My sister's one wish is to be an aunt. And for me to not fulfill that for her and for myself and for my nieces and nephews, it really hurts. I want to make my family proud of me. I'm doing my best. I've been doing this alone for 4 years now. A lot of people do have assisted help who even have it mild. So the fact that I've gotten through these 4 years, I give myself a lot of credit. Before I get any more emotional, I'm going to introduce our other speakers. They're going to tell their story about hyperacusis, explain it in its detailed entirety to the best of their abilities, and another story that's going to compare major chronic illness with hyperacusis. So without further ado, I introduce you to everybody else who is going to share their story.
Hi, thank you so much for watching this. I'm Shay, and I have hyperacusis, which is significant sensitivity to sounds. I also have tinnitus, which is a fairly common thing. It's just that ringing in your ears, but I have it quite loud. I also have autophony, which is basically hearing your internal noises louder than you should, including your own voice, which is why I have this lovely microphone set up so you all can actually hear me because I can't talk louder than this. I also have noxacusis, which is the actual physical pain that you feel in your ear, like with an earache or if somebody smacks you upside the head, just open palm on your ear. I mean, don't actually do that, but just imagine what that would feel like. And this actually happened to me because my noxacusis is sound-induced. About 5 years ago, a toddler who's wonderful, she screamed in my ear, and it just shocked me. It stunned me. It just caused this intense, deep, throbbing, aching, stabbing pain in my ears. And as the day progressed, I got this worse ear fullness. My tinnitus became louder. And then the autophony I started noticing a few days later. I could hear these new noises, and I discovered it was my heartbeat. It was my eyes blinking. It was my saliva salivating. And by about the 7th day after that noise exposure, I developed hyperacusis. I noticed every noise around me, almost like super hearing. And it was just very disturbing, not necessarily physically painful, but very harsh and disorienting and just too much. Some people might think, well, a child screaming is like an everyday noise if you have kids. So why would this cause such a significant response to it? And I guess I was kind of primed to develop ear problems growing up. They thought I was deaf for the first 6 months of my life. I had frequent ear infections, like swimmer's ear. I also had extensive orthodontics done, a lot of readjusting and straightening and widening. And because of the jaw anatomy, that can really mess with the ear anatomy because they're connected. So that kind of flared up and weakened some things. But then I also had 2 brain surgeries. The first one was for brain cancer. And when you're having brain surgery done, they have to cut open your skull. And having that cut open makes it weaker. Even the tiny, tiny bones in the ear can be affected by having the skull cut open. And my type of tumor was a left temporal lobe, diffuse, meaning the cancer cells infiltrated my brain tissue. It wasn't an enclosed tumor that they could just remove. They had to remove parts of my brain. And parts of those chunks of brain that they took out included my insular cortex, which is responsible for processing sound. Now, I didn't develop these hearing symptoms until about 5 years after this surgery, but this was another thing that kind of primed me to have difficulties with ears. Now, I also had a second brain surgery for a pineal cyst. The pineal gland is in the center of the brain, and a lot of people have pineal cysts, and most often they're not symptomatic. But mine was 2.2 centimeters big, so I was symptomatic. I had to go out of state for this surgery because there aren't many specialists who do this. And this was also a really difficult surgery. They cut open my head and dug around deep inside. It was exhausting. But the biggest difficulty in recovery was that this surgery worsened my ear symptoms. I had to do it out of state, so I had to fly home after surgery. And even with earplugs and noise-canceling headphones, the sound and vibrations of the plane's engine and then the pressure changes with going up and down it just wiped me out. And for a little over a week after I got home, I had a lot of hearing distortions. Like when you talk into a box fan and it sounds all like robot-y or mechanical, every noise I heard, including my own voice, sounded like that. And it was really weird. And with this condition, when anything worsens, I never know if it's going to be permanent or just a temporary setback. So any change like that can be really scary. Now, I also have a lot of comorbidities like cervical spinal spondylosis and stenosis, which causes some neck pain and other symptoms. I'm also frequently dizzy and weak and wobbly and uncoordinated. Like I tell my body to do something and it just doesn't. I'm also chronically fatigued. I get neurofatigue just wiping me out. Seizures, migraines, medication-resistant headaches, vision changes, mood disorders. And recently I've developed POTS-like symptoms, hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos symptoms, and mast cell activation symptoms. And then I also had 2 brain surgeries. But even after all of this, the worst, most invasive one is the hyperacusis. A lot of people with chronic conditions or cancer will say things like, I'm not going to let this define me, which is a wonderful outlook. But with hyperacusis, it's constant and it's always reminding me that it's there. I can never escape it. So I can't help but let it define my life and who I am. Before I developed hyperacusis, I played the flute. I went to concerts. I went to the movies. I went to parties, karaoke, holidays with family, and I could vacuum. I could do dishes. I could cook. I could do my annual MRIs with no problem to check on stability of my brain cancer. I could work. I loved being a certified medical assistant, and I loved being a nanny. I also wanted kids. I had plans and goals. I had a life to live and a purpose. But once hyperacusis started, I couldn't do any of that anymore. I still watch TV, but it's a very quiet volume with closed captioning. I sometimes listen to music, but I can't crank up the drum and bass like I used to. It's too painful. And it can affect big things, like my brother. He got married recently. So of course I went to the wedding, but I had to wear earplugs for most of the time. And even that didn't cut out all the sound. But once it came time to eat, I had to take my earplugs out because the chewing and crunching of eating was also intolerable. So I was screwed either way, with or without earplugs. But the thing that really got me the most was my dad. He passed away about 6 months after the onset of my hyperacusis. He had metastatic cancer. But because we knew that he was going to die, he wanted to have a celebration of life. So he could be there to enjoy family and friends and coworkers and celebrate his life with them. And it was great. A lot of people came over. A lot of people showed up. And I was there with my earplugs. But the house got so full and so loud, I had to go upstairs and isolate myself alone because it was too much. And I'm really glad that so many people showed up to support my dad, but I couldn't. And that hurt so much. But it also affects things like goals in life. You know, I have 8 wonderful nieces and nephews, but the past 5 years, I've hardly been able to see them. I've missed so much of them growing up. And I used to always want my own kids. I wanted to be pregnant. I wanted to raise a child and watch them become their own person. But I can't do that anymore. You can't tell a child to shut up without scarring them and making that association of the child's presence being too much for mom just creates this lifelong guilt that I should never have been here. And I can't do that to a human being. So I let that dream go. I've also had to give up a lot of time with my friends. You know, I still get invited to some things, some group things, but, you know, it's nice to know that I'm still wanted, but it's also a reminder of what I'm missing out on. And it's sad to have to decline. You know, some people just don't get why. And even just making plans with one-on-one can be difficult because I can schedule it, but then some unexpected sound trauma sets me off. You know, I don't know if the neighbor's dog is going to bark too loud, or if I accidentally drop a fork on the floor that just wipes me out and forces me to cancel all my plans. So I kind of stopped making plans because I can't be reliable. It's also made my brain cancer symptoms worse. Because I'm so sensitive to sounds, it's like my brain's just in overdrive, having to compensate so much. And so it gets exhausted really quickly. And before I developed the hyperacusis, I was on seizure meds for the brain cancer, but I was able to wean off those medications. But once the hyperacusis started, I started having more seizure activity. So I had to go back on seizure meds. Now, with how bad this condition can be, you'd think there would be treatment options or cures or at least something to help manage it. But really the only options are sound therapy, which isn't even 100% sure. It's a way to make your brain create new neural pathways to interpret sound. And I did this for several years. After the first 3 months or so, I noticed some improvement. And I kept doing it. But then after about 8 months of doing it consistently every day, my improvement plateaued. I mean, I used to have to only speak in a whisper, and I was learning sign language because I had to speak so quietly. So this sound therapy kind of helped, but not enough for me to get my life back. Another therapy that's recommended to people like me is cognitive behavioral therapy. And this doesn't help with physical symptoms. This is just something that helps people like me manage the symptoms. It doesn't get rid of them, but it basically helps you stay sane. I've had depression, anxiety, and OCD since I was a kid, a majority of my life. And so I've gained a lot of tools and coping strategies to manage this. But because hyperacusis forces me into a lifestyle like a severely depressed person, staying home, not socializing, staying in bed, not having any interest or enjoyment out of things that you once loved, I mean, that is a depressed lifestyle. So it's really hard not to slip into depression. For a while, I wanted to be deaf because even if I couldn't hear, I could go out into the world and not be bothered by all the noise. I mean, being deaf is not fun, I'm sure, but I feel like that would be better than just being stuck alone. So why we're doing these videos is because we need help. We can't do this alone. As far as from the medical community, we need more research to be done. We need more clinical trials and just in general, more options to make this better because this is not a sustainable life. And from family and friends and loved ones, it's a really complicated condition and it's hard to see your loved one go through this. And a lot of times, family and friends will try to deny that it's as severe as it is. They say you're overreacting or just give you some simple advice like wear earplugs. They don't realize how bad it is. And I understand that because they're grieving for your change, your significant change in life. But oftentimes they get stuck in denial. It's easier for them to deny that anything is wrong than to accept that this is now your life and they can't do anything about it. So if you have this condition, sometimes you need to really spell it out for your support system, your family, your friends, and tell them specifically what you need. Like, be quiet around me. If you're gonna make a loud noise, warn me first. If I can't do something by myself, I need help, like dishes or vacuuming. Just everyday things. But the point is, we can't do this alone. We need people to help us. This is no way to live. We have very little hope for quality of life again. So we need help. Because we can't do this alone.
Hey everybody, what's going on? I wanted to make this video. I wanted to explain my experience with hyperacusis. I've had hyperacusis for about 5 years. I had it very mild in my right ear, and I had tinnitus as well too. I never had any issues in my left ear until I got in a car accident in March 2021. So basically, I noticed as time went on, the worse the pain got, the more noise I was exposed to, the worse it got, the lower my tolerances got. I tried everything in my power to keep it from getting worse. I tried everything, but it just kept getting worse no matter what I did. The only way for me to stop it from getting worse was literally lock myself in the house and avoid all noise. It's crazy. It sounds crazy, seriously. But there's different versions of this condition. Some people have it. The more common version is basically like you hear a noise and it's louder than usual. When it hits people's ears, it gives them headaches. Everything sounds very uncomfortably loud. But these extreme versions that some people have, the pain hyperacusis version, the pain lingers for hours after the noise exposure. And it's like, it feels like someone's stabbing you in the ear with a knife. It feels like someone's dumping acid in your ears. It feels like someone's dumping rubbing alcohol on an open wound. And in my case, it feels like someone's tasing the side of my head and shooting it with a gun. The pain is truly debilitating. It's crippled me. I messed up pretty bad. If you have this really bad, your pain will just keep getting worse the more noise you hear, and your tolerance to be able to set off the pain will just keep getting lower and lower and lower until every noise causes you severe pain. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, I wish I was, I wish I was exaggerating, but I'm not. This is reality with this condition. I tried sound therapy. It made me so much worse. My pain did go away after, a while, but after the sound therapy, my left ear just never stopped hurting. And it's just horrible, horrible, horrible pain. I mean, I literally had a perfect life before this, It seriously was going to take something very, very bad to leave me housebound on the couch, not moving all day, Some people have been told with this condition, oh, suck it up, push through the pain, That's how everyone says everything nowadays, push through the pain, In reality, this condition is one of the few you just can't do that. The more you push through the pain, the worse it gets. I mean, literally, that's my experience with it. And that's how all these people who are with these severe cases are experiencing it too. We just can't push through the pain because it'll just make our everyday lives, just getting up in the morning, just brushing our teeth, just eating food, just sitting on the couch. It just gives you horrible, horrible pain from every single noise. So you want to try to prevent this from getting worse, So, I mean, I truly pushed so hard. I mean, I didn't want to give up my life. I loved my life. I didn't want to give it up. So I kept pushing through it. I started wearing earplugs everywhere. And it just kept getting worse. And it started cutting right through the earplugs. And I just started getting more pain, worse tinnitus. And it just kept progressing into what it is now. I mean, besides all the pain and everything and the tinnitus and everything you're going through, it's so hard to deal with because all you can do to prevent it from getting worse is sit at home in silence, All you can do is sit home in silence, alone, and watch your life just go by. I mean, it's complete torture. While you're in pain, while you're listening to your tinnitus, it's so bad to where, like, your own voice hurts. Noise coming out of the fridge hurts. Noise coming out of the air vents hurts. Birds outside hurts. Everything literally hurts and gives you severe pain. Not just, oh, it's uncomfortable in my ears. No, like severe stabbing, horrible nerve pain. I cannot exaggerate more. This condition is literally like being allergic to air. How can you avoid all noise? You can't. Noise is everywhere, Even in your own house, your body makes noise. You gotta make noise to make food. You gotta do things, take care of yourself. Everything makes noise. So it's crazy, in my opinion, how this can get so bad to the point where every noise causes you horrible pain. And I thought the sound therapy would help, but it really doesn't. It just seems the more I rest and the less I set the pain off, the better it gets. But like I said, ever since sound therapy, I just don't improve anymore. It just screwed me pretty much. Yeah, I've never been through worse pain in my life. I've had some pretty painful things happen to me, but nothing tops this. Nothing even comes close to this pain. On my worst days, you could cut my arm off with a buzzsaw. It would probably be pretty close to the amount of pain I'm in. It's really that bad. I have this very, very bad. And a lot of us found, the only way to prevent worsening is just sit in silence, If you can, maybe a little bit of background noise, if you can handle it, sometimes it helps me, but other times everything just hurts like crazy. So, a lot of people do recover with this, which is good news for anybody who's watching this. And they're like, oh my gosh, am I going to get better? Most people do improve a lot. And most people think, unfortunately, getting this at all is horrible, But people get very confused with moderate and severe cases, They think they're severe when, they can leave the house and be okay. Truly, a severe case is like what I explained. Every noise gives you more pain. The pain is literally debilitating you. Your tolerance keeps dropping. You keep getting worse tinnitus no matter what you do. And literally the slightest little noises cause pain. And like I said, getting this, it all sucks, but all we can do is try to stay positive. All we can do is try to hope that medical research moves forward, because when you have this and you go to a doctor, most doctors have never even heard of the pain version. They've heard of the normal loudness version, and they recommend sound therapy, don't wear earplugs, suck it up, But this pain version is basically like a little nerve in your inner ear that gets triggered from noise damage, and it just never shuts off for some people. And that can explain why over time some people get better, because the nerve calms down. And that can explain why more noise irritates the nerve more, But I really do think there's a lot of hope for us. I'm glad, it's 2022 and we're farther in the future, and there's actually hearing regenerative programs, that are in clinical trials right now. So I really hope they come out and they can help us treat this condition. But having such a horrible thing and having no treatment at all, no doctor's help, you can't even travel. You can barely travel to doctor's offices. You can't go to a restaurant, can't go to the movies, can't go to work, can't talk on the phone, can barely watch TV. Even the slightest noise coming out of my phone causes me severe pain. It's all about like a frequency thing too. That's a big issue, what I noticed. But thanks for listening to my story, guys. I hope I shed some light for you. If you have this, don't give up. Keep pushing, Don't push through noise, obviously, but just don't give up. Don't give up hope. That's all I can say. Protect your ears and try to just meditate. Try to deal with this mentally, because it can and will destroy you. If the pain gets bad enough, it will ruin your life. There's no doubt about it. But you got to hold yourself together and work through it. So I hope we have a better future. We kind of want to make this video to explain to everybody, about this more severe pain versions, because there's just nothing about it anywhere. All you can find is on forums and a couple, like 1 or 2 videos on YouTube, and they don't even go into extreme depth about it. All right, guys, so thanks for listening to my story.
I hope that you've enjoyed this video today. Do not stop fighting if you have this. You are not alone. You are loved. And we can get through this together. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you have a great day. Take care.